From 2021 through 2030, we can expect a dramatic escalation in the agenda. This escalation will likely come in waves where everything seems as if it's okay for a while, then there's a new problem. That new problem could be something such as a cyber attack that temporarily takes down the power grid in most parts of the internet, leading to another shortage in the food supply. Then, after some time, that will calm down, but the solution to the problem will be to increase restrictions online to verify everyone's identification. Ultimately, this is to further silence the citizens from speaking out. Then, after a series of events, we should expect another major wave of COVID variants, along with waves of lockdowns. As that subsides, it would again bring additional restrictions. Without any influence by us, it's plausible in the next few years to expect these events, along with a likely economic collapse, possibly culminating in a major war by the end of the decade. This wave pattern brings us, the subjects, right to a breaking point before relieving the pressure. It allows a gap to forget the previous hard time and accept it as normal, which reduces the threat of building a resistance. With every new problem comes more restrictions. This pattern provides an opportunity for the most effective way to demoralize the subject, making them exploitable to give up their rights for a sense of security, while channeling them to a modified, more controlled way of living.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
Up to 80% of the population gone by 2025? Damn. Military intelligence website Deagle.com has recently indicated that an 80% population reduction is in effect over the next 2 years, and the G7 countries are near the top of the list. This, of course, is highly disturbing, and I regret to say, slightly more accurate than I'd like to admit. The G7 countries and their population reductions are the UK at 78.5%, USA at 70.2%, Germany at 65%, France at 48.1%, Italy at 30.6%, Canada at 29.7%, and Japan at 17.6%. They go on to state, it is advised that people temporarily distance themselves from the UK, USA, and Germany. These governments are planning the utter destruction of their own populations, and most are complying. It's almost like a suicide cult. This is what happens when a massive war is waged upon the people and they don't even know it. This is what happens when you honor fake authorities rather than your own temple. This is what happens when you trust pharmaceutical companies before you trust nature.
2025 is going to be one hell of a year, and you can feel it in the air. If you have any spiritual sense to you, you can feel that something is up. And just like this individual is saying here, a war has been waged against you, and a lot of people are very unaware of it. They have no clue as to the level of unease people are about to face. That is how it's going to be. Just like the first clip you saw, narrating how the squeeze, just like a serpent that swallows its prey. First off, it wraps itself around the prey, and then it squeezes the life out of you, then gradually swallows you whole. And this is exactly what they're doing. The pressure from below and pressure from above. They're squeezing, putting the squeeze to you. And the result of it is going to be terrible. Terrible. A whole lot is about to happen. Are you ready for it? Are you prepared for it? Do you even know about all of this? Here it is, it's saying that the population by 80%, 80 friggin' percent, going back to their Georgia Guidestones and things of that nature. And they've already put things in place that will achieve this. You know, with the juicy juice and the rest of everything. It is going to be one hell of a year, and we're only just 2 months in. Still in February, and all hell is breaking loose. Planes falling out of the skies. Federal jobs being cut. A lot of people have lost their jobs. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. A whole lot is happening. Are you prepared for it? It is going to be one hell of a year. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, the 7th chapter, And the 43rd verse said, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past, intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahakudash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with the 144,000 mighty men of the house of Israel, down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days, who are of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all, I say shalom, salutations to you all. And the clips we just saw is very, very telling. And we are living in times where it is not far-fetched to think that 80% of the population could be, wiped off, unalived, because they had that before they demolished the whole Georgia Guidestone thing. They had that bring humanity under 500, maintain humanity under 500 million, right? That is part of their plan. That is like their own 10 commandments. And the first commandment was to maintain humanity under 500 million. And it's no surprise that a lot of all this wicked elites, so to speak, they are in for to reduce the population. They openly tell you that. They are all okay with it. You see? Eugenics and things like that. They are all okay with it. And they push that Malthusian theory that there's not a lot of resources and, it's never to increase resources. Nah, it's not about that. This is how you know when they say the greater good, they don't mean you, because you are not part of their future agenda. They're looking to do away with you. You've become a useless eater for them. So they have all that Malthusian theory where the resources is not enough, and we have to be able to distribute the resources accordingly to the people. We have to reduce the population. That is always what it all boils down to. It's never how do we maximize resources, right? How do we efficiently and effectively maximize resources that a lot of people can, be well off? Because they all have all the money. They all have all the resources. They've been hoarding it, doing whatever they want with it. They've been destroying a lot of it, right? A couple of years ago, they had all this storehouses, warehouses that store food being burned up. A lot of farms, a lot of farmers are being taken out of work. So if it's always about resources, why are you destroying farmers and their farmlands, paying them a huge sum of money to destroy their crops and livestock? Because it's not about resources, it's about you. You are the problem. You are the problem. And this new digital age that they're going, is harder to keep tabs on a lot of billions and billions of people, right? There's a lot of computational process, so to efficiently run this digital age, there has to be fewer people on the planet, and they've already have a substitute for you, and the substitute for you are the robots and AI technology, which will bring in the universal basic income, because a lot of people are losing their jobs. They just had the people protesting against Trump and what he's doing, because a lot of people found out that Trump is not really for them, right? Trump is for the agenda of the so-called swamp he wants to drain. He is part of the swamp, and by now, if you cannot see it, well, more power to you. Whatever helps you, whatever floats your boat, right? You can believe in whatever you want to believe. That's your prerogative. That's your thing. You see? But that's the time we're living in. We're living in times where all hell is about to break loose. And the avenue for all this hell breaking loose is already being put in place. Just like the first clip you saw. Okay, let's bring that back.
From 2021 through 2030, we can expect a dramatic escalation in the agenda. This escalation will likely come in waves where everything seems as if it's okay for a while, then there's a new problem. That new problem could be something such as a cyber attack that temporarily takes down the power grid in most parts of the internet, leading to another shortage in the food supply. Then, after some time, that will calm down, but the solution to the problem will be to increase that temporarily takes down the power grid in most parts of the internet.
Trumpism targeted. Trumpism targeted. Look at that. That is all part of the agendas. Trump, it is. He is definitely part of the whole agenda, the grand scheme of things. Even though he talks the good talk, right?
Internet, leading to another shortage in the food supply. Then, after some time, that will calm down, but the solution to the problem will be to increase restrictions online to verify everyone's identification. Ultimately, this is to further silence the citizens from speaking out. Then, after a series of events, we should expect another major wave of COVID variants, along with waves of lockdowns. As that subsides, it would again bring additional restrictions. Without any influence by us, it's plausible in the next few years to expect these events, along with a likely economic collapse, possibly culminating in a major war by the end of the decade. This wave pattern brings us, the subjects, right to a breaking point before relieving the pressure. It allows a gap to forget the previous hard time and accept it as normal, which reduces the threat of building a resistance. With every new problem comes more restrictions. This pattern provides an opportunity for the most effective way to demoralize the subject, making them exploitable to give up their rights for a sense of security, while channeling them to a modified, more controlled way of living.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
Yep, and there you have it. So the new norm. Imagine since the whole pandemic thing, and now a lot of things have been normalized that wasn't okay back then. So in the nearest future, there could be a huge event that will happen similar to that of 2020, right? That will bring about new normalcy, right? New ways of doing things, which will require you to now have a digital identification, which he mentioned, right? To be able to verify who you are, which will lead us to this digital age that we're in right now. And you can imagine a new, pandemic that would take a lot of lives. There's this clip back then, one of the scientists was talking about how with the people that has the juice in them, all it's going to take is a couple of yays, and then the juice will do what it's supposed to do, which is to unalive a lot of the juicers, right? Once that happens, you see people dropping dead right in front of you. Now you have airplanes flying out of the sky and falling down in alarming rate. Imagine 10 of the airplanes just falling in cities like New York, Chicago, LA. You see what I'm saying? 10 planes in one day fall out of the skies and fall into buildings and just totally destroy a lot of things in its path. You see? So the avenue to bring about this population reduction is already there. Don't forget the juice that is inside a lot of people right now. It is doing what it's supposed to do. It has unalived a lot of people, right? Since, people took that thing, you know what I'm talking about? It has. Now we are in Operation Warp Speed, so everything is escalating. All they got to do is press one or two buttons and voila, you will be in for some crazy sights. So we have to pull the scripture out in 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter. Let's start at the 41 verse. It says, even so now, seeing corruption is grown up. So right now, there's all kinds of corruption, man. There's corruption in the government. There's corruption in the everyday people, right? People's minds have been corrupted by the ways of the world, right? the ways of the wicked elites, the banking families that run the whole show. And what does it lead to? Well, and wickedness increased. You see, once the people's minds and spirituality has been corrupted, what happens? What is the result of that? Well, the result of it will be wickedness increasing at a rapid rate, to the point where, nothing is safe. Not even the innocency of children is safe. Not even the protection of children from all kinds of perverts and monsters. That is not, they're the ones suffering more. Even child trafficking is at all-time high. And part of the people that is involved in all this child trafficking are the same people that are supposed to be fighting against it. How many times has it come out that people that work in CIAs and FBI, they have child porn in their hard drives and things, in their laptops and things, right? You have Hillary Clinton and his laptop, Hunter Biden and his laptop. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. So the wickedness has totally increased. Epstein lists, right? It's nothing but top elected officials that have been going there. Same goes with the freak-off parties and things, right? It says, and righteousness have prayed, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly, right? Now we see all of these things, we're like, man, it has to come to an end. So the righteous are praying that the ungodly should stop the ungodly ways. Wherefore shall it not be so now also? It says, he answered me. So this is a conversation going between Ezra and an angel, right? So now he asked the angel about this, all of that is happening, that will be happening in the future, because he's being shown a vision, right? So the angel answered him and said, this present life is not the end, where much glory that abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom, talking about, is going to come to a time where, not just at that time, or a couple of years later, it's going to come to a time where the day of doom shall be the end of this time. What is doom? Let's look up that word, doom, real quick. Let's look it up. Doom. Says doom refers to death, destruction, or any very bad situation that cannot be avoided. You see that? So the angel is telling the prophet Esdras that the day of doom, which means death and destruction, or any bad situation, very bad situation that cannot be avoided. Why? Because it was prophesied to be so. You see? Now Trump can make America great again. Nobody's going to avoid this doom, this day of doom that is quickly approaching. It says it can also mean an inevitable decision or judgment, especially an official condemnation to a severe penalty. It goes on here, death, destruction, or some other terrible fate. That's doom. See that? The aircraft was sent crashing to its doom in the water. What do you know? They use aircraft. Now, we've been having a lot of aircrafts falling out of the skies. What is that? Well, that's a day of doom that we are living in right now. The destruction, the downfall, the ruination, catastrophes, right? Disaster, extinction level events, annihilation, death, and termination, quietus, grim, terrible fate, wrack, and ruin. Well, that says a whole lot right there. So let's read this again. It said, but the day of doom, death, destruction, terrible fate, all of that good stuff. It said, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time. So when people talk about the end of days, it is going out with a bang. Doom. It says, and the beginning of the immortality to come. So for us to get the immortality, the salvation that have been promised, those that are faithful, the elect, right? The 144,000 down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in these latter days. So for them, for those righteous souls to get the immortality that is to come, we have to go through the day of doom. See? That is just the way it goes. To go, they said, to make it to heaven, you got to go through hell, right? And we are all going through hell, catching our own various hell, right? It says, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. Remember we read earlier, seeing corruption is grown up and wickedness increased. So there has to be a rectifying of all of this craziness that we're living in. The corruption has to end. Where you wouldn't be worried about your children playing in the park. One minute they're playing in the park, the next minute a mother screaming, looking for their child. That is the world we live in. You see? Where you can't even enjoy the basic necessities of life. The food is being polluted. Breathing air is terrible because it's being polluted. I just put up a clip about an individual talking about how this clip right here, and he's paid 10 gallon to put chemtrails in the air. Right there, he goes into that. This is one of the clips I put in. You can just look it up. You see, that is part of the doom that we're living in. You see, and the corruption we're living in. Imagine somebody. They pay you $10 a gallon to spray these toxic chemicals in the air, and you do it, knowing damn well you still have to breathe this air. It's not like you spray this stuff and then you move to Mars or somewhere else. You still got to be in the planet Earth, and they can buy you for cheap like that. You pollute the very same Earth that you live and your family live in. That is that corruption that has totally increased. You can buy people cheap, very cheap. You know? It says, intemperance is at an end. Infidelity is cut off. Unbelief. Right? It says, righteousness is grown and truth is sprung up. This is what we are praying for. A new heaven and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. But before that happened, it's going to be all out chaos. You see, it's going to be total chaos. This is 1 Peter, the 4th chapter and the 7th verse. It says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. The end of all things is at hand. That's where we are. The day of doom. And prepare your mind. Prepare yourself mentally, spiritually, to see things that are above your expectations, stuff that will shake you to the core. Imagine waking up one morning and people are just dropping dead around you from what God knows what. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that you wake up one morning and people are just dropping? Try to take a subway train station and see hundreds of people just dropping. That would shake you to the core, man. That would shake you to the very core. Planes falling out of the sky. It's not just something you see on the news. The planes are falling out of the sky in your neighborhood. In your neighborhood, man. You see, that is the times we're coming into, and you ought to take it very seriously. This is Isaiah, this is the 6th chapter and the 16th verse. It says, for by fire and by his sword, by his, meaning the God of the Bible, Yahweh, through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? So for by fire and his sword will the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Going back to that clip, this one.
Up to 80% of the population gone by 2025? Damn. Military intelligence website deagle.com.
Damn, that is a very right exclamation point for that. Let's hear that again.
Up to 80% of the population gone by 2025? Damn.
By 2025. Damn, and we are in 2025. So keep your eyes peeled. 80% of the population, that is a whole lot. Yeah, that's what it says here. The slain of the Lord shall be many. What is slain? Those unalived. There will be many. This is Jeremiah, the 25th chapter and the 33rd verse. It says, and the slain of the Lord shall be at that day. What day? The day of doom. We read earlier. Right? But the day of doom shall be the end of this time. So when all this starts to happen, it says, and the slain of the Lord shall be at that day. It says, from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. Imagine having so much dead bodies. It's impossible to bury all of them. It's just too many of them. Who's going to bury who? You're worried about your own self. You just be stepping over dead bodies, man. That is what the scripture is saying here. No funerals for them. They just be laying in the streets, laid out like what? Dung. What is dung? Shit. Poo. Upon the ground. That's how it's gonna be. Imagine you seeing something like that, man. That will shake you to the very core of you. And we are coming into times where it will be happening. Don't think about it as conspiracy theories. We're about to see the stuff that will shake the average Joe out there to the very core of him, which each and every one of us. But the thing that will keep us stable is knowing that it was prophesied that these things would happen, right? That is the wisdom and the understanding keeping you stable. Which brings us here in Psalms, the 91 chapter and the 7th verse. It says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right hand. What is that? That's people dropping, man, left and right of you. People just dropping, unalived. But it shall not come nigh thee. You see that? There's going to come a point in time where it will look like there are people that are above death. Why? Because they're being protected from on high. They have a force field around them, protecting them from whatever onslaught of destruction that we are all about to face. So the scripture talks about, then shall they know who are my chosen. Why? Because they will seem like they're untouchables, man. They'll still be in the earth, catching their own kind of hell, but they'll all, like it says here, only with thine eyes shall thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because thou hast, why will you be protected? Well, this is the answer. Because thou hast made the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. Because you've known the Lord, you made him your refuge. You believed in his word. You have faith in his salvation. And ultimately, you were chosen since the foundation of the earth to be of the elect. That is why. It says, there shall no evil befall thee. See that? Remember, the day of doom. All kinds of calamity will be going on. Guess what? There shall no evil befall thee. Neither shall any plague. See that? Neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. So when you see that the first clip you saw talking about it could be another pandemic, well, it could very well be. Even Bill Gates himself talked about how the second one would get a lot of traction. He said the second, pandemic will really, really shake up the whole world. You see, that's the time we're coming into. But the scriptures, the word of the Lord is reassuring you that neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. This is what we pray for. That divine protection, divine guidance, to be able to escape all of this hell. Because believe you me, it will go down. it will go down. And soon and very soon. And with that, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachahakodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.